So I often talk about how my journey with human design causes a challenge for me, like how I often resisted it, and because the challenge that it had for me in religion. And so I just got off of a call where we were talking about human design and contextualizing it for current times, for today's times, for these times. And so I thought, let me just take this opportunity to do the same. So instead of just saying, that my resistance to not even resist, well, my resistance in coming out with talking about tools like human design or astrology and those kinds of, I don't know what they call them, metaphysical type practices, instead of just saying that I have a challenge between that and religion, go deeper into what that means for me. So in religion and in church and the text, and even in the Bible, we're taught to deny ourselves. Like that's a big key thing that we're taught in religion. Deny your flesh, deny yourself, just everything about you, resist it so that you can yield to the way of God and the way of what the word says and all those things. But my honest truth, right? The truth that resides in me is that resisting those things is what caused a lot of pain and discomfort in my body. It caused discomfort to totally go against something that resonated within me. So the difference between religion and tools like human design is that one is all about yourself. It's all about learning yourself. It's learning how to feel your feelings and go with the flow of who you are and what you feel, what instincts come within you. You're totally being led to delve deeper into yourself. Whereas on the opposite side, you're telling everything about your flesh is sin. It's wrong. It doesn't know. Do not lean on your understanding. Those two things. So I never really had the words to, other than the fact that, they say the Bible says, don't look to the stars, don't do astrology and things like that. But the absolute truth for me is that denying myself and knowing the difference, I understand denying your flesh to where you want to do things that don't serve you, that don't serve the higher good for yourself or anyone else, where you're doing wickedness in the world and you're hurting people and you're harming people. But when you're learning yourself for the betterment of yourself, how do we truly get to self-love in order to love others if we don't do the work on the inside? And so I never really, that was the stall. It created this huge gap and stall because I love going to church. I love reading the Bible. I love, learning and becoming intimate and having a personal relationship with God. I love that, but yet and still. So I love all of that. And there were parts of me that I was denying, and that it literally hurt. It hurts to fight yourself on any occasion, when you're doing damage to yourself, but then also when you're really just trying to flow into your existence and allowing that existence to be your lesson, allowing the teachings that God is trying to teach you through every experience that you're having, every way that you're feeling, and tuning into the voice that is actually the voice of God that is actually coming in through you. And so understanding that, yes, there are times when inspiration and instruction is going to come from others. But then what do you do with that? So then what you take now and do with that becomes a part of your internal flow and your internal faculties on what you do with that information, how you use it, how you process it, and then what you now it processes and then it has to go back out. But I think sometimes that's when we get locked and we allow it to come in, but then we kind of lock it up. And how we process it, we feel guilt or shame about using the faculties that God gave us to process what we're taking in and our own experiences and how to come out with a lesson, that feels true because I experienced it. And trying to walk this life on this earth based on other people's experiences don't feel real. It doesn't feel real. And you walk around pretty much feeling like something's off. When something's off, like I understand it, it makes sense. And then sometimes it don't make sense, but okay, I'm gonna go along with it. And you can get by, you really can. But then there's always that feeling of your own experience. Not that you're just out here running amok, trying to do whatever. I mean, some people are, that's their thing. But when you know your true heart is to understand, and I needed that more than anything in the world when I was severely in depression. When I was severely in depression, I did not know why the heck I was on this earth. I didn't understand. I didn't feel purposeful. I did not understand. So when we're talking about self-worth, I didn't understand my worth on this earth. Why am I here? What are we doing? And so really getting to the point where you can now look at yourself as you are and where you've been positioned, the environment you've been positioned in. And like, wow, I've been feeling like an anomaly. One, because I am, there's only one you. There's only one you. And understanding that the difference that you felt, you didn't even understand what that was because you're looking around you and you're seeing a different way of being that looks all the same. To you, to me, it looked like, oh, everybody's doing this. Everybody's doing this. So then that must be the right way. But then it don't feel right to me. And it doesn't, not only does it not feel right and it makes me uncomfortable, it is not producing any fruit whatsoever. No fruit whatsoever. And so you get a chance to now look at, this is why I felt that way. And then you get to make some choices now. You get to either be in the same space, but not feel the pressure to comply or to be like everybody else. And you get to go find where it is that you want to be, where you feel more comfortable. And in that space, instead of living in a jungle where everything is fight or flight, everything is every man for himself, everything is someone's the king of this jungle and you got to find your way however you see fit, may or may not eat. And there's a hierarchy of who is higher up on the food chain and who gets what. You know what I'm saying? And then to go in and be planted in a garden where no one flower has to ask permission. Everybody blooms, everyone blooms in its due season. And it's a variety of difference, but it's all beautiful. It's all beautiful. Where the sun is welcome, the sun is needed in order for things to grow. Water is needed in order for things to grow. And so that feels so much lighter and this feels like so much more organic growth as opposed to fight or flight that takes place in the jungle, in the darkness, and all of that. I mean, I know jungle has its positive and it has its place and its reason, but you got to understand the preferences. You can have a preference for something. And while someone may thrive more in a jungle, I don't. I absolutely do not. Put me in the garden or put me in some water. Those are the differences, and those are just the things that we have to understand. Better for the world, but it starts with ourselves. And so back to my point about human design and religion is just that I felt the guilt and the pressure to not seek myself. That sounds like against all things religion. You do not seek yourself, you seek God. You do not seek yourself. You do not serve yourself. You serve others. But totally missing the point that when we seek ourselves and when we serve ourselves, we serve others from a fully resourced, an authentically resourced well of water, and not sticks and stones and rubbing sticks together to create fire, to try to help people with nothing, basically. Artificial resources run out. Artificial resources don't sustain, really. They don't penetrate as easily and as deeply as something that's whole and organic and natural. We are natural. We are human beings. We are of the matter that creates nature. And so how wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be that we don't, that we vibe with it, that we react to it, that we feel things from it? Why wouldn't that be? And so why I definitely believe that there is definitely things of the spirit. We cannot ignore the things of the spirit, and we cannot ignore the things of nature, our human nature. And I think the balance in between the two will create the balance that we need as individuals, as a community, as a collective. And living life out of the extremes will kind of bring peace. And I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know that necessarily. It's not my expert teaching, my expert thoughts. It's my question. It's my hope. It's my hope. I'm like, what if? Because at the end of it all, I'm not even going to say the end of the day, the day that the Lord has made and will come, what is the goal? Were we here just to prove something right, or are we here trying to fix the same problem over and over and over again? trying to get back to balance, trying to get back to the garden, trying to live in inclusion, trying to live in community, in health, and in that image of the garden that was so vividly described to us that we never really got a chance to see because it was corrupted so early on, so, and that's all we know is of the result of the corruption. But do we really take the time to explore what the original picture looked like, or what it was supposed to be? And what would it look like for us to all be there? If we're all here now, what would it look like for us to all be there? Instead of putting within ourselves what it would take to smite and wipe out certain people, or whatever. Whoever can't be there because they can't exist there. You know what I'm saying? And let that be that. Create the light and let those who can't stand the light fade out. But we got to create the light. We can't keep creating more darkness. We got to create the light and let the darkness fall where it may, because it cannot stand the light.